everyone, it's Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here to start a reading vlog. Yes, I know, I haven't done a vlog the whole month of January yet. I've been missing doing vlogs, and I didn't get to do the mid-month book bash vlog this month, so I thought it's the last weekend of January. We are forecast to have a big snowstorm this weekend. In fact, blizzard conditions probably through Saturday night. I think they're calling for between 11 and 17 inches of snow where I live over the course of Saturday into Sunday. So seems like a perfect reading to vlog a snowy Maine January weekend and what I'm reading. So what am I reading? I have three books that I want to finish that I have on the go currently that I'd like to finish before the end of the month. So let's talk about those first. The first one is Wild Swan, which is by Chang. And this is a nonfiction book. It's very chunky, over 800 pages, that details the life of three women, a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter, all related in the same family, as they live through 20th century Chinese history. So this is their life story from the early 1900s all the way up through the 1980s. I think the book was first published in the 1990s. So it is just truly riveting. It is so good. It's excellent narrative nonfiction. It reads like fiction, but it just is so filled with information that I did not know anything about. And so I'm loving that. So I'm hoping to finish that. I'm over halfway through. So I feel very good about my chances. The other two books that I'm reading are for Book Naturalist Book Club. That is The Sea Around Us by Rachel Carson. I am buddy reading this with Britta Bowler, and I only have 25 pages left of this, and I absolutely, absolutely adore this book. This is detailing the knowledge that we had of marine science and oceanography in the 1950s and like basically up till 1960. I think this was published in early 1960s. And so it's just fascinating because that's the field that I work in. I know that there are things in here that we've since learned more about how the processes work. But it was fascinating to read about the state of the knowledge at the mid 20th century mark, and of what was considered new technology at the time. So that's really fascinating. There's also mention of some places near where I live, some of the marine phenomena that happen with the ocean near where I live. So that's always fun when a place where you live is mentioned in a book that you're reading. So yeah, we'll talk about that more later. And then the other book by Rachel Carson that I'm reading is Silent Spring, her, seminal work, her book that made her famous. And this is about the effects of pesticides on the world. And this one is much more technical in nature. It's much more pure science writing versus her books about marine life, which are more, there is a lot of science in those as well, but somehow they're more lyrical in style, whereas this is much more straightforward science writing. I still find it really fascinating. And again, knowing what was the current knowledge at the time that this book was published, again, mid 20th century, to what we know now about the use of pesticides and herbicides and insecticides in the environment, I just find really, really fascinating. And she does a lot of examples here. So I think that is something I've heard criticism about, is that this book can feel repetitive. And I think it's because this was the first time an argument had ever been made against the widespread use of poisons into the environment to control certain species. And because it was the first time anybody had ever made such an argument, she felt she needed to detail every single argument that she could that would support her position. And so she really goes heavy on the examples for each of the cases or the uses of chemicals that she's talking about. But I'm really enjoying that as well. And so then the only other thing that I have on the go right now is an audiobook, and that is, I think it's Network Effect. It's the 5th book in the Murderbot series, a science fiction series by Martha Wells. I'll put a picture up here so you can see what it is. I just love the Murderbot series. I've listened to them all on audio except for the short story that goes before this book. This is the first full-length novel in the series. The others before were novellas or short stories, and I read home It's like a 19-page short story I read previously this week. So starting that audiobook, I think I'm only like 8% of the way into it. But I just love the voice of the Murderbot in those audiobooks. Just fabulous. So I'll be listening to that while I do, things that require me to use my hands and not sit and read a book. And then here's a picture of, I got a call from my library telling me that the 4th volume of Heartstopper was in at the library, and would I like to come pick it up? I was like, yeah, definitely would like to come pick it up. And while I was there, I was like, I should pick up another couple of graphic novels that I've been hearing about, particularly on Vanessa at Split Reads channel. She always talks about graphic novels that she's reading, particularly middle grade and YA graphic novels. So I raided the shelves at my library and picked up this stack of books. So I may dip in and out of some of those this weekend as well. And I will tell you about them if and when I do. So that's where we're at here on a Friday morning on January, is it the 28th? It is the 28th of January. And I will check in with you again later. It's the morning after the blizzard, Sunday morning. It's about, 6:45, and I am about to head outside to do some shoveling and also to measure the snow because Doris has requested a snow measurement. It was so windy because it was a blizzard that it has blown into drifts, and so it's going to be difficult to get an accurate measurement here, but I'm going to go try to find a place in the lee so the wind wouldn't have blown it up into a drift or something, and see if I can't get a more reasonable measurement. I'm gonna take you outside with me. You're gonna see the drift in front of the doorstep. So let's go together. Like I said, it's 6:45 Sunday morning. It's 12 degrees out. The wind is still blowing quite hard, but not as bad as it was during the storm. So let's go explore together. That is my forsythia bush, completely buried in the snow. That is the drift in front of the house. Underneath this big drift here is the bulkhead down to the basement. So that's completely covered. That drift is probably as tall as me. This drift almost up to the windows here on the porch. I tried to walk over to measure in front of the forsythia bush, but I'm up to my knees in snow here. Yeah, so it's making it hard to walk. I get my trusty dusty yardstick out. Let's get it the right direction. We'll measure right here. Right here, it's 22 inches of snow. But I'd say that's drifted. I think the 17 is more to the point, more reasonable. That's the crabapple tree, totally buried. All right, shoveled out the doorstep, and Eddie's gonna have to come plow the rest of that. And the stuff in front of the garage door, probably use the tractor to get that out. You can see that it drifted up in front of those doors pretty good yesterday. Yeah. Friends, it's Sunday afternoon, so I've been out with, let me try to get the glare off my glasses there, that's a little bit better. I've been out with Eddie all day, basically. It's 2:30 now, trying to get snow moved around so that people can get in and out of the yard. So both here at the house and up at our camp at the lake, we spent about 4.5 hours up there moving snow because there were snow drifts over 4 feet high. You'll see in some of the footage of us trying to move that snow, and it is crazy. It was crazy. So yeah, it was a rough morning. But I wanted to come on here and talk to you about Wild Swans because I finished Wild Swans yesterday, and it was a 5-star read, no doubt. I would highly encourage you, if you have any interest at all in the history of China, to pick up this book. It is so well done. The voice is wonderful. Young Chang writing about her grandmother and her mother and herself throughout history, throughout the 20th century in China, is just pitch perfect. It really is. It's amazing. And I did not know an awful lot about this particular period of time in China. I don't know very much about China in general. But I really did not know anything other than the fact that Mao was the leader that brought communism to China. But I did not truly understand what happened in China during the decades of his time in power. And it's just absolutely horrific and unbelievable what these people went through. So we start off by learning about Jung's grandmother, who was of basically the last generation of the old China. So, she had bound feet. She was the concubine of a warlord. She, overcame a lot in her life. And then, has her daughter, who then becomes involved in the communist movement and becomes a member of the Communist Party and becomes quite, she moves up the ladder in terms of, the hierarchy in the Communist Party. And while she's doing this, she meets Jung's dad and gets married, and they are just full on 100% committed to the Communist Party. And the trials and tribulations that these people go through is just incredible. It really is incredible and just heartbreaking. And then, of course, Jung is born, and she and her siblings and what they have to go through in fully controlled communist China, all through the Cultural Revolution and other purges during the time that Mao's in power. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I keep saying the same words over and over again because there really is no way to describe what these people went through, how millions and millions and millions of people were persecuted, violence perpetrated against them, the famines and the starvation that they suffered and endured, how the goalposts kept moving so that what you did on one day that you thought was adhering to the party strictures would in, the next year be considered completely opposite, and you would now be considered an enemy of the state, and then subsequently have to undergo all kinds of state-sponsored violence. It's just mind-boggling what happened. So if you have any interest at all in this time period in China and you want to hear it from the point of view of women, I absolutely 100% encourage you to pick up Wild Swans. I will be picking up more by Chang in the future. She wrote a biography of Mao, and she wrote a couple of other books about women in China. And so I'm very, very interested to read more by her because I think her voice, her authorial voice, is so compulsively readable, because this book, Wild Swans, does not most of the time reads like fiction, because it's their story, it's their life story, and so much of it reads just like a novel, and so therefore you just wanted to keep turning the pages and turning the pages and turning the pages. So yeah, I really, really advise everybody to take a chance with this book if you're interested in the subject matter. It's so good. So I am continuing on and trying to finish Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. I have it right here. This is the last book that I'm trying to get finished before the month of January is up. I have the rest of today and tomorrow, and I think I only have about 75 pages left in it. As you can see, I've been marking some passages that have particularly spoken to me in this book. I'm really enjoying it. Again, difficult subject matter, really, really enraging in a lot of parts, but also just I'm very glad to have finally picked this book up and started to read it. So yeah, that's my brief check-in, and I will probably have one more before I close out this vlog. I just wanted to come on here and close out this vlog because it is Monday, and I did meet my goals of finishing the books that I wanted to finish by the end of January. So last night I finished Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. This was a second book that I was reading for the Book Naturalist Book Club this month in January. So I will be doing a full review of Silent Spring. Spoiler alert, I also love this one. So 3 for 3 with Rachel Carson. I also finished Wild Swans, which I talked about yesterday. So that's 3 books down for the weekend, and that is exactly what I wanted to do to sort of free up my schedule and leave me going into February with a clean slate. So that feels really good. And I have a lot of reading planned for February with Black History Month and with Book Naturalists. And of course with Book 2 Prize, which will be announced tomorrow. So excited. So you will probably see my reviews of the Rachel Carson books before you see this vlog. But I will be seeing you whenever I get this posted, hopefully by midweek. Anyway, it was really fun to do a vlog again. I really enjoyed vlogging. I hope you enjoyed seeing the scenery from our winter storm. Another one forecast maybe for this weekend coming. So yay. Anyway, have a great day. I'll talk to you all later.